Let's be honest, grading a university thesis is a monumental task. But what if AI could not only speed it up like crazy, but also make the feedback better and, fairer for every single student? Well, today, we're going to explore a system designed to do exactly that.
So, this is the big question, isn't it? Can an algorithm, a piece of code, actually get the nuance and the depth of complex academic work? And can it give you feedback that's not just technically correct, but genuinely helpful? That's the core challenge we are digging into right now.
All right, so to understand why a tool like this even needs to exist, we first have to talk about the problem it's trying to solve. And it's a huge issue in education that you could call the academic bottleneck.
And this right here gets to the heart of it. You've got this tension from both sides of the desk, right? For professors, it's not just being buried under a mountain of work, it's that it's so repetitive, and you're under all this pressure to be perfectly fair and consistent for every student. And then for students, you know that feeling. That long, anxious wait for feedback, the feedback you desperately need to actually learn and get better.
And this number, wow, this really puts it all into perspective. 2 to 4 hours. That's how long it can take for one professor to review one single paper. Now just multiply that by an entire class of students, and you can see how that workload becomes completely unsustainable fast.
So how do you break through that bottleneck? Let's meet the solution, the agent review team. And I really want you to focus on that subtitle, because it is absolutely key. This thing was designed from day one to be a powerful assistant, not a replacement for human educators.
You know, the best way to picture this whole thing is to imagine a panel of experts. Instead of just one person slogging through a huge document from page 1 to the end, you have a whole team of specialists. And each one focuses only on their area of expertise. And here's the kicker, they all do it at the same time.
And here is that team. The whole system is built around 5 different AI agents. Think of each one as a specialist that has been trained on one specific part of the official grading rubric, everything from how clear your presentation is to how well you engaged with the topic on a personal level. So, a team of 5 specialist agents sounds pretty powerful, but how does it all work in practice? Let's break down the mechanics, because the way it's designed is the key to both its incredible speed and its rock-solid reliability.
The process itself is actually beautifully simple. First, the system just ingests the student's paper. Then you get the magic moment, parallel analysis. All 5 agents read and analyze that document at the exact same time. This is what makes it so mind-bogglingly fast. And finally, a 6th agent comes in to pull all of their findings together into one single comprehensive report.
But how does it stay fair? How is it accurate? Well, this is where the secret sauce comes in. It's a technology called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. The best way to think about it is that RAG forces the AI to take an open book test, and the only book it's allowed to look at is the official grading rubric. It can't just make stuff up from its general knowledge. It has to point to direct evidence in the rubric for every single comment it makes. This is what keeps it honest and guarantees consistency.
Okay, so the theory is super impressive, but what about the real-world results? Let's look at the actual numbers, because honestly, they are staggering.
Get this, a 90 to 95% reduction in review time. Just let that sink in. A task that used to take a professor hours of deep, focused work can now be done in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee. I mean, this is an absolute game changer for academic workloads. But look, it's not just about making things faster. The quality of the feedback is what really, truly matters. Each review generates about 15 specific, actionable recommendations. For a student, this is huge. It means you're not just getting a score back, you're getting a personalized, concrete to-do list of exactly how to improve.
And here is where that RAG technology we talked about really pays off. 100% consistency. The system sticks to the rubric perfectly, every single time. This is so critical because it removes the natural human subjectivity and bias that can sometimes creep into grading. It makes sure every single student is measured against the exact same standard.
This chart just lays out the whole transformation, plain and simple. Look at the shift for professors. You go from being buried in hours of repetitive work to being freed up to actually mentor students. For students, that agonizing wait for feedback shrinks from weeks down to just days. And the quality of the feedback itself goes from being kind of subjective and variable to being consistent and incredibly detailed.
So what does all of this mean for the big picture? Well, this whole project is part of a much larger initiative called Agents for Good, and it really forces us to think beyond just grading papers.
We're talking about the future of education itself.
You see, this is about so much more than just efficiency. When you give educators back their most precious resource, which is time, and you give every student that consistent, high-quality feedback, you're building a foundation for a better system overall. It improves learning, it supports fairness, and it empowers educators to focus on the human stuff that an AI can never, ever replace.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? The ultimate goal here isn't just to automate a tedious job. It's to fundamentally shift a teacher's role away from hours of monotonous evaluation and towards the things that actually move the needle for students, things like personalized, one-on-one mentorship.
And that brings us to this final, really powerful question. We started this whole thing talking about an AI assistant for grading, but what if we're actually looking at the prototype for something way, way bigger? This tech is about providing expert feedback, instantly, at scale. So what happens when you turn that power from just evaluation into pure teaching? Just imagine that for a second. An expert tutor for every single student, ready to help them 24/7. That's not just a change in how we grade, that's a potential revolution in how we learn.